Chapter 7, Kiana Rubini. I'm still in SCS 8. Well, technically, I'm in nothing since I never officially enrolled in school. Back in the first day, Chauncey turned out to have the stomach flu. That's why he barfed. Like, there needs to be a reason for him to paint the town. So stepmonster never showed up to register me. That night, eating takeout pizza for dinner while feeding Chauncey's medicine out of an eyedropper, she asked me, "Kiana, did you get everything straightened out with the office?" "Geez Louise," my father explained. "You were supposed to take care of that." "Chauncey got sick," she began defensively. "It's okay," I interrupted. "I've taken care of it." I'm not sure why I said that. Nothing is taken care of. There's no such student as Kiana Rubini in Greenwich Middle School. If I had any teacher besides Mr. Kermit, I would have been busted on day one. What's more, I'm in the Unteachables. Oh, sure, they call it the self-contained special yada yada yada, but that's just the code for burnouts, nitwits, rejects, and behavior problems. Plus one displaced Californian. It goes without saying that I don't belong. I've kind of boxed myself into a corner, though. It wouldn't be hard to switch out since I was never really switched in, but then I'd need Stepmonster to register me for real, and I'd have to explain what I've been doing for the past 2 weeks. It's not worth it. I'm just a short-timer anyway. I never changed my address from Los Angeles, so no one will ever find out there's a girl living here who isn't enrolled in school. And believe me, Mr. Kermit isn't going to notice he's got an extra kid in his class. Most of the time, he doesn't even notice he's got a class. I'm not learning anything. But even if I was in genius classes, I don't think there's much this one-horse town can teach me in 2 months. Could be even less. Mom says her movie's going really well, which means that I could be back in California even sooner than expected. Fingers and toes crossed. In spite of all that, I have to admit I'm fascinated with SCS 8. It's not a good class, not even close. It's kind of an interesting one, though. I always assume that kids who end up in programs like that are just plain dumb. Not this bunch. They have quirks, sure, but unteachable? I don't see what's so terrible about them that they can't be with anyone else. Well, maybe Aldo. Anybody can get that who can get that mad at a locker and all that. Still, when I look into Aldo's eyes, which are green by the way, I see a person who doesn't want to be angry. Anyway, if the kids are a little strange, they're not half as strange as their teacher. I use the word teacher very loosely. There's another problem I have about calling them the Unteachables. How can the school know they're unteachable if nobody even tries to teach them? It's been 2 weeks and Mr. Kermit hasn't taught anything yet. He barely even speaks. He doesn't like kids, and he doesn't seem too fond of adults either. Yet there's something cool about him too. Nothing throws him, except maybe vuvuzelas. Anybody who could put out a trash can bonfire with a cup of coffee and never mention it must have ice water in his veins, even by LA standards. And just when you think you've got him figured out, something new about him comes out, like his secret past with Miss Fountain's mother, or when he fought like a tiger to get Barnstorm included in a pep rally. Now Barnstorm is fully reinstated to the Golden Eagles. He even stands on the sidelines of the football games, leaning on his crutches and dispensing advice to the players. He has Mr. Kermit to thank for that. One day Barnstorm is off a team meeting with Miss Fountain when Miss Fountain pokes her head into the room. "Mr. Kermit," she calls, "my group is about to have circle time, and we were wondering if you and your students might like to join us." "Circle time?" he repeats, mystified. I stare at her teacher. How could anybody in the school business never have heard of circle time? "You know," I explain, "like the little kids do." "It's not just for little kids," Miss Fountain corrects. "It's for everybody. Positive reinforcement is something you never outgrow. Think of how much better our world would be if national leaders would only sit in a circle and be kind and civil to one another." So we all troop over to room 115, and let me tell you, that class doesn't look too thrilled to see us coming in the door. They're 7th graders, only a year younger than us, but it's a major year for growth spurts, and they seem a lot punier. Plus, we have a reputation That was obvious from the VIP seats they gave us at the pep rally and how quickly we got thrown out at the first sign of trouble. Miss Fountain students are intimidated by all of us, so you can imagine how they feel about Elaine, the subject of school legends about force feeding people pages of their own textbooks and pounding on them with uprooted with a fiscus tree. Plus, she covers literally 30 degrees of the whole circle. There really is a circle, marked off with yellow tape on the floor. In the middle is a smiley face, also in yellow tape. In the middle, if my friends in L.A. could see me now, on second thought, God forbid, kid drivers, Unteachables, and now this, Greenwich sure is some town. Mr. Kermit doesn't want us to sit on the floor with the kids, but Miss Fountain does. Miss Fountain does it, so he has to do it too. There's a lot of groaning as he lowers himself down in a crack that might be from his hip joint. He balances the bucket of coffee precariously on his lap. The room is like an overgrown kindergarten class. Bright colors blaze from every wall. There are class lists with multicolored star awards. Every single piece of information comes in a voice bubble emerging from the mouth of a happy cartoon animal. Susie the science snake. Harvey the hall pass hippo. I'd probably like it if I was about Chauncey's age. Mateo does like it. He lives his life through fictional characters anyway. He lingers from the front of the big posters, drinking in the details of the vibrant caricatures. Mr. Kermit has to order him to take a seat on the circle. Miss Fountain even has a real animal in a glass terrarium in the corner of the room under a sign proclaiming him to be Vladimir, in some kind of lizard about 8 inches long. A miniature Gorn, Mateo blurts. He's a gecko, a 7th grader corrects. Parker snaps his finger. Like that lizard from the TV commercials. He's a gold dust day gecko, Miss Fountain explains. You can tell by the flecks of yellow in his scales. Gorns are from Star Trek, Mateo supplies, although nobody asks for an explanation. They're a reptilian race from Tau Larate 9, advanced enough to have mastered space travel. A loud snicker comes from one of the 7th graders. Class, let's welcome our new friends to the circle, Miss Fountain announces. Who has a compliment to offer? Somebody's feet stink, Aldo complains. Mr. Kermit glares at him. That's not a compliment. Yeah, I know, Aldo concedes, but something smells pretty ripe around here. Maybe it's the Gorn cage, Mateo puts in. A compliment, Miss Fountain goes on, as if no one else has spoken, is a positive comment. A well done, to make people feel good about themselves. Try again, Aldo. Aldo is thinking so hard that his face screws up, like Chauncey's when he's going to the bathroom in his diaper. He looks all around the circle and comes up empty. I know I'm just a short timer, and it's pointless to care about people I'll never have to see again once Mom finishes shooting her movie. But my heart goes out to Aldo, who has his red hair that just won't stay combed. How must it feel inside when the closest you can get to saying something nice involves foot odor? From the opposite side of the room, a low voice announces, "That's a nice color." We all crane our necks to see who's speaking. To my amazement, it's Elaine. I beg your pardon, says the young teacher, distracted. Your shirt, Elaine tells Miss Fountain. It's a nice look for you. What a lovely thing to say. Thank you. Miss Fountain frowns at Elaine. I don't think I know your name. Do you think... I don't think so either, Elaine rumbles back. Miss Fountain turns questioningly to Mr. Kermit, who gives her a blank shrug. That's Elaine, I exclaim. We've been in class with him for 2 weeks. Doesn't he know any of us? A few whispered murmurs of rhymes with pain come from our class in the 7th graders. A voice sounds in the hall. Where'd everybody go? A moment later, Barnstorm swings into the doorway on his crutches, fresh from a meeting with his football team. I was wondering where you guys were. Hey, check it out. Circle time. Join our circle, Miss Fountain invites. Why don't you share how you hurt your leg? I'm guessing it was a football injury. No way, Barnstorm scoffs. The tackler isn't born to catch me. I was changing a light bulb in the bathroom, and I slipped off the toilet seat. I can see it coming, but I'm powerless to stop it. As Barnstorm plops himself down on the floor next to Aldo, one of his crutches whacks the red-haired boy in the side of the head. Ow! Enraged, Aldo sweeps the offending crutch aside, knocking it into the corner. The rubber tip clips the cover of the lizard terrarium, sending it skittering across the floor. The Gorn! Mateo exclaims. Vladimir! Cry several seventh graders. The gecko is out of his home like a shot. He does a quick loop of the room and finds the door. Mateo frowns. Gorns are slow and plotting in Star Trek. I guess Star Trek isn't much like real life, Parker observes. You can say that again. There's nothing slow or lazy about Vladimir. By the time the first seventh graders reach the hall, their class pet is long gone. I'm kind of impressed at how calm Miss Fountain stays. She's all business on the intercom with the office describing the escaped lizard. Thank you for a very enjoyable circle time, Mr. Kermit says formally. We should probably say our goodbyes, though. I doubt that she even hears him. Back in room 117, I'm thinking now we're really going to get it, but our teacher silently returns to his crossword puzzle, leaving us to the worksheets on our desks. Chapter 8, Mr. Kermit. When breakfast is mustard on toast, that's a sure sign that it's time to go back to the grocery store. I mean, I've run out of butter and cream cheese and jam, and I'm digging into the condiment packs left over from my last McDonald's run. Come to think of it, this is my last slice of bread, too, and stale doesn't begin to describe it. The apartment is a dump. Clean enough, but definitely from a bygone era. I can afford much better, but I'm too disinterested to redecorate and too lazy to move. It's the perfect place for a meal of mustard on toast, the breakfast of the disinterested and lazy. Not for the first time, I picture Fiona's home, with its picket fence and oh-so-green lawn. It's more vivid now since I can imagine Emma growing up there, playing on the swings, riding her tricycle on the driveway, and playing with her first lizard. I don't want to think about her last lizard, thanks to the Unteachables. God only knows what happened to Vladimir. He's probably trapped in the walls of the school somewhere, starving to death. If he made it out of the building, he's roadkill for sure. Eventually, I go down to the Cocoa Nerd and start it up in a cloud of burnt oil. I'm actually calling it that, thanks to Parker. For some reason, I can't get it out of my head. Something else to lay at the feet of the Unteachables. June has never looked farther away. I'm not even a third of the way to school when the billboard looms up. Come see the largest inventory of new and used vehicles in the Tri-County area. And there's his face grinning out through a flaming hoop. He's some kind of circus performer and not the sleazy used car dealer he was always meant to be. Jumping Jake Terranova, who will jump through hoops to get you a deal on the perfect new or used car. Even though I pass the billboard every day, it's always somehow a blow to see him up there. He doesn't look much different than he did as a seventh grader, always grinning, like he's got it all figured out. And he's still selling cars and SUVs now instead of stolen copies of the National Aptitude Test. He's good at that too. Terranova Motors is the third largest auto dealership in the state. That's quite an accomplishment. Jumping Jake has come a long way since seventh grade when his biggest accomplishment was ruining his teacher's life. No, I remind myself, Dr. Thaddeus did that. Sure, the cheating thing was an ugly scandal, but it's not as if I was in on the scam. All I was guilty of was trusting my students and believing that their best in the nation test score was an honest achievement. My real crime, the one that I'll never be forgiven for, was making Thaddeus look bad. The principal turned superintendent has been taking his revenge ever since. Jake Terranova was just the first tile that started the dominoes tumbling. The giant dealership looms up on the left. I can't help it. I count how long it takes to pass the vast lots and showrooms. 14 full seconds at the speed of traffic. It isn't enough that the Terra Nova kid got away with his seventh grade shenanigans. Obviously, they gave him the formula for getting rich. He's rolling in money while his teacher he took down and living on bread and mustard and driving a cocoa nerd. Although the main reason I haven't replaced the car is that I blame all auto dealerships for Jake Terranova. I turn into the school lot where Parker's pickup truck is sprawled across the last two open spaces. Sure, give a middle school kid a driver's license. What could go wrong? Annoyed, I block the pickup in, making a mental note to keep the kid after school just long enough to beat him out here. I didn't pack a lunch, but I remember buying falafel a couple days ago that I never got around to eating. It isn't in the passenger seat, so I tried the glove compartment. No luck. It must have fallen on the floor and rolled under the seat when the car went over the bump. The cocoa nerd doesn't have much in the way of suspension. Bending over double, I reach around and pat the floor on the passenger side. Sure enough, I find the paper sack, but when I pull it out, there's a hole in the bag and the falafel is half eaten and torn to shreds. I get down on all fours and peer under the seat. It looks like somebody lost a leather wallet down there. Then it shifts, and two beady eyes peer out at me. I recoil in shock, slamming the back of my head against the dashboard. With a squeak of fear, the creature begins to scramble away, but I jam my hand in and grab it before it can escape through the hole in the floor. Breathing hard, I draw the little guy out and hold him against my chest. Vladimir, I presume. In answer, the gecko poops on my shirt. I sigh, unable to muster up enough anger or even surprise. Vladimir is merely continuing a pattern of treatment that's been going on for 27 years. I brush the tiny pellets away. So the fugitive lizard did make it out of the building. Not only that, but he managed to find the one car in the parking lot with a hole in the floor and a falafel just waiting to be feasted on. And he's been here for the past 18 hours, safe and sound, while the custodians scoured the school, listening to every wall with stethoscopes. Still toting the little beast, I get out of the car. I hold on pretty tight at first, but then relax a little when I realize Vladimir isn't going anywhere. Why should he? He's eating the rest of my lunch as we enter the school. I'm actually looking forward to restoring Vladimir to his rightful owner. True, that's dangerously close to caring, but Em is almost like a daughter from an alternate universe, her being Fiona's kid. The young teacher already thinks my class is a horde of barbarians, mostly because they are. This might get her to consider the possibility that I'm not to blame for it. As I approach room 115, her voice stops me in my tracks. I know teachers get burned out, Mom, but this is different. He's barely even alive. I teach right next door to him. He doesn't open his mouth all day. Those poor kids are going to learn nothing because nobody's there to teach them. It's such a shame. I back up a step. She's stalking around the room, updating the bulletin boards with gold stars and holding her phone to her ear with one hunched shoulder. What she's saying hurts all the more because of who she's saying it to. A surge of resentment. What does Emma Fountain know about being burned out? She's barely older than the students. She thinks giving middle schoolers gold stars and class pets and lecturing them about being bucket fillers is education. How long has she been teaching? 10 minutes? The first time she tried to take on the Unteachables, they laid waste to her circle and released her lizard to the four winds. But Fiona's never going to hear that side of the story. Emma just a drooping nostril on Harvey, the hall pass hippo. Okay, fine. He used to be a great teacher once. It's now that counts. Honestly, I can't believe you were actually engaged to that. I tense up, giving the gecko a squeeze. A short, sharp squeak is torn from his little mouth. She wheels and the phone drops from her ear. Vladimir! She grabs the lost pet from my arms and rains kisses down on the scaly head. Where did you find him? Around, I reply stiffly. I'm not in the mood for a conversation about the hole in the back of my car. She's red in the face now. How long you've been standing there, Mr. Kermit? I'm tempted to say long enough or something else to make her feel bad because of all the people because of all the people should know that wasn't a very bucket-filling conversation. But I hold my tongue. This used to be my favorite part of the day. When the students haven't come yet to ruin it, it's usually downhill from there. My dramatic exit is spoiled by a small mustard burp as breakfast climbs a little higher up the back of my throat. I need coffee. I cheer myself by picturing the toilet bowl on the shelf in the faculty lounge dwarfing all the lesser mugs.